Marcus Eldridge was just trying to warm his hands. That's how it began. Not with a protest, not with a crime, but with the way his fingers trembled as he wrapped them around the chipped ceramic mug at Mel's Diner on the corner of 5th and Lincoln. You didn't know his name before this, and chances are no one around you ever did either because no one ever asked. But now you're here, watching, feeling that sharp knot tighten in your chest because what you're about to witness isn't a scene from a movie or some viral clip destined to be forgotten next week. No, this is something else. Something you're not supposed to understand, but can't look away from either. And maybe you shouldn't, because once you see it, you'll start asking the same question no one in this country ever dares to voice aloud. What happens when the system doesn't just fail someone, but erases them? The waitress, Lisa Ann, had seen Marcus every night for 2 months, always in that same red military jacket, frayed at the cuffs, carrying the invisible weight of 100 untold stories behind his eyes. She never asked, never pried. Just brought him coffee, sometimes leftovers, sometimes silence. But tonight something about him felt off, like a storm was cracking through his skull and leaking out the corners of his mouth. He wasn't looking at the window like he usually did. He was staring at the clock, not checking the time. Staring, unblinking, like he was waiting for something only he could hear. Then he whispered a name, just once, just barely audible. Angela. No one around reacted, not even Lisa. But you did. You heard it somehow, and you don't know why your skin is prickling or why your throat suddenly feels dry. All you know is that name, it doesn't belong to anyone in that diner. Not that night, not in the records, not even in Marcus's known history. Angela Eldridge died in 1994. She was 8 years old. She was his sister. The door swung open with that shrill, ungreased creak that made the bells jangle above it like they were warning something, like they knew. 2 uniformed officers stepped in. Sergeant Nolan Briggs and Officer Eric Darnell, local PD, faces you wouldn't remember in a crowd. Average, forgettable, almost friendly in that southern way that makes your stomach churn if you've lived long. Enough to know better. Their eyes scanned the room with the kind of focus that wasn't about crime. It was about control. They didn't ask for Marcus's name. They didn't ask if he needed help. They just walked up behind him and placed a hand on his shoulder like they already knew how this would end. Except it didn't end the way they expected. Because that's when Marcus turned and looked at them, calm as a whisper in a church, and said something no one in the diner could quite make out. Except you. Not because it was spoken loudly, but because somehow it was meant for you. He said, "Check the call from 6 years ago. It's still active." No one moved. Time didn't freeze. It fractured. The TV on the wall started flickering, static, bleeding into the image of a baseball game that hadn't aired in over a decade. One of the bulbs above the counter exploded. No bang, no smoke, just shattered silence. And Marcus? He was gone. Not like he ran. Not like he was dragged. Gone. As in, one frame he was there, and the next his seat was empty and the coffee mug was still warm. The cops looked shaken. Lisa dropped her tray, but no one said anything. No one screamed. They just moved on, like they hadn't noticed. Like their brains had made peace with a lie they never knew they'd agreed to. You're probably wondering if this is a trick, some elaborate hoax, but ask yourself, why are you the only one who remembers hearing the name? Why are you the one who saw the moment that wasn't supposed to be seen? And why right now are you hearing your phone buzz with a voicemail from a number listed as disconnected since 2019? Play it or don't, but just know someone is still listening, and they know you saw, they know you heard him, and the voice in that message, it won't be yours. It'll be a little girl's, whispering from somewhere too far away to be possible, saying your name, and a word you've never told anyone. Until now, you play the message, because of course you do. There's this gut-level instinct in you now, not curiosity, not even fear. Something older, something wired deep into the part of your brain that only flinches when something's truly wrong. The screen stutters when you unlock your phone. Just for a second. A glitch, maybe. The brightness dips, then rises again. Then through the speaker you hear it. A girl's voice, no older than 7 or 8. Gentle, sweet in that way that feels too clean, too still, like it was preserved in a jar. "You saw him, didn't you?" she says. And just like that your breathing stops. You don't know why. It's not what she says, it's the tone. It's like she's not asking. She's reminding you. Then your name, whispered with the soft drag of breath, just enough to feel like a finger tracing the back of your spine. And then silence, until she adds something else, something quieter, almost swallowed. "Don't forget again." And it all unravels from there. You check the call log, there's nothing there, no recent voicemails, no recent calls, nothing at all. The screen doesn't even show a missed notification, but you heard it. You felt it, the same way you can. Feel your fingers trembling, your pulse kicking up behind your eyes, your throat clenching like it's remembering something your mind refuses to. And that's when the doubt creeps in. Not a whisper, not a shout, just a slow tick. Maybe you didn't hear it. Maybe it's stress. Maybe you've been taking in too much bad news, too much late-night doom scrolling. Maybe your brain is running loose, desperate for meaning. But then, you hear something else. Your phone speaker clicks, soft, mechanical. Then another noise, faint and fragmented, like a child's laugh recorded from inside a tin can. You hold your breath, lock the phone, reopen it. Nothing. But the seed is planted. The questions tighten their grip, and when you blink you realize something else. Your coffee cup is different. Not new, just not yours. You drink it every morning, same chips on the rim, but now it has a logo you don't recognize. Mel's Diner scrawled across it in a cursive that looks burned into the porcelain. You never got that mug. You've never even been to Mel's Diner. Or, have you? The next part gets worse, because you try to ground yourself. You call your friend Jaden. You tell him about the video, the girl, the name, the diner. And for a second you feel sane again. He listens, really listens. Then he says something that clutches your chest like a vice. "You already told me this. And last week, you made me promise not to let you look into it again." You go still, ask him what he means. He hesitates, then admits he has a voice memo on his phone. From you. He plays it, and there it is. Your voice, ragged and tired, whispering through static. "If I ever ask about Marcus Eldridge again, stop me. He's not real. None of this is real. If I forget again, don't let me remember." You want to scream. But you don't. You ask Jaden where he is. He's outside your building. You hang up, go to the window, and you see him. His hoodie. His phone lit up in his hand. Only he isn't moving, just standing under the street lamp, looking up, not at you, through you. And when you finally open the door, he's gone. No footsteps, no sound. Just cold air and something in your mailbox. A photograph. Black and white, blurry, of Mel's Diner. A man with his back to the camera in a military jacket, and scrawled on the back in faint pencil. He remembers too much. You won't. That's when you meet her. Apartment 3B. You don't even know why you knock. Maybe you're looking for someone else who's losing it too. She answers the door with an almost hollow expression, like she's halfway out of her body. Blonde hair tied back. Flannel shirt. No shoes. She doesn't even ask who you are. She just says, "They came for me too," right after the voice, right after the glitch. Her name's Rowan, or so she says. She's been seeing them for weeks, she tells you. The shadows and reflections that don't move when you do. The clocks that run backwards between 3:12 a.m. and 3:17 a.m. every night. The faces in photos she didn't take, wearing expressions that feel wrong, too wide, too still. But something's not right about her either. She has the same photograph as you, same handwriting, same diner. But in hers, you're the one in the jacket, same back, same frame, only dated 3 years ago. You ask her how she got it. She just says, "You gave it to me when you told me to forget." And the way she says it, so calm, so practiced, you don't know whether she's telling the truth or just mirroring what you need to believe. She keeps her windows covered in aluminum foil, keeps her mirrors turned to the walls. And when she talks about the diner, her voice catches like someone choking on a memory they buried too deep. You stay the night in her apartment. You don't know why. Maybe because the silence in yours is too loud now. Maybe because you're scared of what your phone might do again. Or maybe it's because you're starting to believe that whatever this is, it wants you alone. Wants. You broken. Rowan falls asleep fast, but you don't. You lie on the floor staring at the ceiling, trying not to blink too long, because you're scared of what you'll see when your eyes open again. At 3:14 a.m., the lights flicker. You know what time it is without looking. The air changes, thickens. You hear a sound like breath right next to your ear. Then the baby monitor on Rowan's shelf turns on by itself, even though she doesn't have a baby. A voice comes through. Not a child. A man. Calm. Familiar. You were the one who called them. Don't you remember? The feed cuts to static. And then, your voice again. Play this back if he comes back. You need to remember. Marcus was never homeless. You sit up too fast, head spinning, that name again, that feeling again. And then you see it. Rowan, still sleeping, clutching a worn military dog tag in her hand with the name Marcus Eldridge etched into the metal. And underneath it, scratched so deep into the back it's almost unreadable. Angela still waits. Then, your phone vibrates again. One new voicemail. No number listed, just the title, Final Warning. And this time, when you press play, it isn't a voice, it's a scream, but it's yours. The sun was just breaking through the clouds when you finally thought you had it, the answer you'd been clawing at through fog and fear. The moment felt almost sacred, like stepping into a forgotten room of your own mind, the one filled with cobwebs and old photographs you didn't know existed. There was something about the way the morning light caught the faded edges of a battered journal you found tucked beneath the floorboards of your childhood home, the very house you hadn't set foot in since you were 10. It was the same journal that had belonged to your mother, the one you thought had been lost to time, but here it was, heavy and real in your hands. You flipped through pages yellowed with age, the ink smeared and looping, a frantic script of someone trying to hold on to sanity, or maybe just trying to remember. There, scrawled between broken sentences, was a name, Marcus Eldridge. Your mind stopped for a beat that stretched into eternity, the same name you'd been chasing, over and over like a ghost on the horizon, impossible to grasp, but always just ahead. The journal spoke of a man who wasn't homeless, not really, but someone who had vanished after whispering a name that no one dared to say aloud. Angela. You blinked, the words dissolving into memories you weren't sure were yours, or stories whispered in the dark. The truth felt close enough to touch, like a secret waiting to be finally dragged out of the shadows. You sat back, heart pounding as the realization settled in like a cold stone. This was it, the missing piece, the reason your world had cracked. Marcus wasn't just a random figure lost in the noise. He was part of your own fractured history, something you'd buried deep beneath layers of silence and forgetfulness. You started piecing together the fragments, voices, glitches, the strange diner you never remembered visiting, Rowan's pale face haunted by the same echoes. The dots connected into a line you could follow, a path leading out of the madness. You could almost feel the veil lifting, the light piercing through years of fog. Maybe this was the moment when everything would make sense, when the nightmare would finally stop. But then it happened. Like a sudden shudder beneath the earth, the fragile thread snapped. You noticed it only because the journal's edges were strangely warm to the touch, the pages curling slightly as if breathing. Then, just as you were about to call Jaden and tell him the breakthrough, your phone lit up with a message you hadn't seen before. No sender, no subject, just a single line blinking on the screen. You forgot the blood. The words sent a shiver crawling down your spine, the kind that didn't fade no matter how many times you blinked. The past you thought you were reclaiming wasn't a memory. It was a trap. Suddenly your mind threw you back to a night you had pushed so deep it was nearly erased, too dark to face, too raw to hold close. You remembered a house like this one, but colder, the walls damp with fear. You remembered screaming, but not your own. A child's voice crying out for Angela. Someone who wasn't there, someone who never returned. You remembered the glint of metal, a dog tag falling from a trembling hand into a puddle of something that wasn't rain. The memory wasn't yours alone. It belonged to someone else. Someone who had been there, watching. Someone who knew the truth and had been waiting for you to remember. And that's when the silence pressed in, thick and suffocating. A presence, something, had been there all along, lurking beneath the edges of your awareness. It wasn't the flicker in the phone or the voice in the baby monitor. It wasn't even Marcus or Rowan. It was something older, colder, rooted in the spaces between your thoughts, feeding on the cracks in your mind. You felt its gaze like a shadow stretching across your skin, a weight pulling at the corners of your vision, the kind of presence that doesn't need a name to be terrifying. The kind that turns your own memories against you, twisting the familiar into something unrecognizable. The worst part? You realize you've been watching your own story unfold, their story maybe, from the wrong angle the whole time. The clues you chased weren't leading you out. They were drawing you deeper in. You glance back at the journal's last page, and your breath catches. There, written in shaky letters you didn't see before, is a phrase that rewrites everything. If you see this, it means you're already too late. Trust no one, not even yourself. And just like that, the pieces collapse. You're not just uncovering a hidden truth. You're uncovering the fact that what you thought was reality has been bleeding into something darker, something so personal, so invasive, it feels like your own mind has betrayed you. Every step you took toward clarity only blurred the line between what was real and what was a memory glitch planted deep in your consciousness. You're not crazy, they lied to you. But the question now isn't who to trust, it's whether you can trust anything at all. You sit there, heart hammering, the journal slipping from your fingers. The phone buzzes again. This time it's a video. You hesitate, knowing the next frame will change everything. You press play and the screen goes black. But faintly, through the darkness, you see a figure standing in the diner doorway. Only it's not Marcus and it's not Rowan. It's you, and you don't remember walking through that door. There's a whisper threaded through the static of every message you've received. A pulse beneath the surface of every shadow you thought was alone. You're not the only one who sees the cracks, not the only one caught in this web that tightens with every breath you take. Somewhere beyond the flicker of your screen and the tremble in your hands, others are waking up, silent watchers, who have traced the same fractured lines of memory, the same elusive patterns nobody else dares to speak aloud. They are like ghosts lingering just out of focus, bound by something neither time nor distance can sever, and their presence pulses beneath the surface of your mind like a heartbeat you're only beginning to hear. It's not coincidence. It's a gathering storm of secrets, and every cryptic message, every shared dream, every symbol carved into the corners of forgotten places is a piece of a puzzle too vast, too dark, for any one person to solve alone. The messages come in waves, shifting shapes and sounds that defy explanation, but scream with urgency when you listen close enough. The distorted recording buried deep in a long-forgotten newsreel, the hidden corners of government archives that someone leaked long before you knew to look, the faint pulse of a signal transmitted on a frequency that wasn't supposed to exist. A code, impossible to crack unless you're already part of the story. You find yourself tracing the outlines of symbols carved into the margins of photographs no one else acknowledges, an eerie constellation of triangles and lines that seem to rearrange themselves just when you think you understand their meaning. There are others too, people who reach out in dreams or flicker across your periphery, figures who vanish when you turn to look, but whose eyes are burned into your memory, heavy with a warning you can't quite decipher. It's like waking inside a shared hallucination, a nightmare stitched together from pieces you don't remember living, but somehow feel you've always known. You begin to question everything, the nature of who you are, what is real, and how much control you truly have. Is your mind your own? Or has it been the stage for some unfathomable experiment, some dark design that manipulates your every thought, your every memory? The lines blur, and the faces you once trusted twist into strangers. Shadows shift in rooms you thought were empty, and voices echo through your thoughts in languages you don't remember learning. The very idea of identity fractures beneath the weight of these revelations, and you can't tell where you end and the conspiracy begins. Each step forward feels like sinking deeper into quicksand, pulling you toward a truth so immense and terrifying that it threatens to consume everything you thought you knew. The trauma you carry is no longer just personal. It's a thread woven into a tapestry of silence and manipulation that stretches far beyond the lonely streets and forgotten veterans you started with. In the midst of this chaos, a third perspective surfaces, a presence unlike the others. This observer moves quietly through the background, slipping between scenes you thought were closed cases or dead ends. They are the shadow behind the curtain, the voice in recordings nobody else can hear, and the keeper of a truth that neither you nor anyone else has yet dared to grasp fully. Their presence is unsettlingly intimate, like a whisper meant only for you, filled with warnings that chill your blood and promises that everything you see is only the surface of something darker. They never reveal their name, only hints. A fragment of a confession here, a piece of found footage from 20 years ago there, a discarded file stamped, "What the government never released." And with every word, they pull you deeper into a labyrinth, where trust is a currency more valuable than life itself. You realize that this observer might be the only one telling the truth, or perhaps just another layer in the maze designed to keep you lost. Either way, their arrival changes everything, leaving you suspended on the edge of a revelation that will shatter the fragile illusion you cling to. And still, the tension tightens, a coil wound ever tighter as the lines between watcher and watched, truth and lie, memory and invention dissolve into a fog of dread. You feel it in the back of your mind, an echo of every whispered secret, a trace of every vanished person whose name was never spoken aloud, and the undeniable certainty that you were right all along. The forces that pulled these strings have been watching, waiting, and when you finally meet their gaze, the cold light in their eyes promises that nothing will ever be the same. This story is not just unfolding before you. It is a mirror held up to your own fractured reflection, a call to confront the shadows lurking beneath the surface of your reality. The question no longer is if you will find the answers, but whether you will survive what comes next. And then, as if summoned by your deepest fear, a new message arrives, this one different. No code, no symbol, no hidden meaning. Just a simple, and blinking like a pulse on the edge of everything you thought you understood. We are already inside. The screen fades to black, but the silence that follows roars louder than any revelation, filling the space between heartbeat and breath, with the promise that the truth is no longer waiting to be uncovered. It's already here, inside you, inside them, inside the story you never thought you'd live through. And now there's no turning back. He sat alone in the dim light of his small apartment, the weight of countless nights pressing down on his chest like an invisible hand squeezing. The breath from his lungs, the endless puzzle of faces, voices, and vanished memories wasn't just a mystery now. It was a mirror reflecting something far deeper, something raw and unbearably human. Not just what had happened, but why. Why had the world turned its back on him? Why had the truth slipped through his fingers, hiding in the shadows of silence and fear? He realized then that the true question was never about uncovering facts or unmasking conspiracies. It was about facing the hollow spaces inside himself, the betrayals, the losses, the fractures in his soul that no outsider could ever heal. This was a journey into the heart of what it meant to be vulnerable, broken, and desperate for meaning in a world that had forgotten him. Every revelation had peeled back another layer of his identity. But now the final truth hovered just beyond reach, a truth that could either shatter him completely or forge something new from the shards. The faces of those lost to the void flickered through his mind. The veteran who vanished with a whisper, the child who spoke a forbidden name, the long-dead voices caught on broken devices. They were echoes of a pain that wasn't just theirs, but his own. And in that raw, trembling moment, he felt the crushing weight of choice, the terrifying clarity that to know the truth might mean losing everything he thought was real, including himself. Yet to reject it would be to live forever in the cage of doubt and fear. The question was no longer what happened, but what he was willing to become in its wake. A confession spilled from his lips, trembling and fragile, as if saying it aloud, might finally break the spell. I don't know if I want to be saved, or if I even deserve it. It was a moment of unbearable honesty, a crack in the armor where all pretense fell away, revealing the raw, aching core beneath. The mystery was no longer an external force. It was a reflection of his own haunted humanity, the wounds that no conspiracy could explain or erase. And as the walls of his mind wavered, the line between nightmare and awakening blurred. He was no longer just a victim of unseen forces. He was a soul standing at the edge of oblivion, staring into the abyss of his own making, trembling between surrender and the fierce hope for redemption. And then, as if the universe itself held its breath, the silence stretched, a pause so profound it seemed to echo in every corner of his being. The camera lingers, the world stills, and you, the witness, feel that fragile moment hanging in the air, heavy with the unspoken and the unknown. The story doesn't end here. It fractures open like a waking dream you didn't know you were trapped inside, leaving you suspended between fear and revelation, doubt and hope, the seen and the unseen. You are left with the haunting question that lingers long after the screen fades to black. What part of yourself will you choose to believe when the truth comes knocking at your door? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for stories you were never meant to hear. Until next time, remember, some truths don't want to be found.